Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is finally fabulous Ficus Friday today. I'm going to be working on my Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa. I last worked on this tree 3 months ago where I pruned up the top of the tree and I did root carving to get a more detailed root system. After I did the root carving, I placed sphagnum moss all around the root system in hopes of getting more fine detailed aerial roots to form. My goal for this tree is to create a very miniature looking Ficus microcarpa, one that is very small but looks giant. So I've got to keep the leaves small. I've got to keep the branch structure very fine and delicate. So after 3 months, you can see some of the branches have grown with a lot of vigor. The leaves are getting large and the tree is getting out of shape. So I'm going to start today by pruning back the upper canopy. It's Ficus Friday today, the 1st of April, and you can see it's snowing quite heavily outside and it's very cold. After I've finished pruning up the branch structure on the tree today, I'll go in and I'll have a look at the root system, see if there's any small aerial roots growing, and see how the carved roots are looking. I'm looking at the branches on the tree, and you can see that the leaves started out really small on them, and then as the branch grew longer and longer, it gained vigor and the leaf size started increasing, getting largest out towards the tips. So on this branch, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 leaves. When you get 8 leaves on a ficus, you can prune it back to the first 2 or 3 or 4. It's got enough vigor put back into the tree that you can prune it once again. So I'm going to do that. So I can prune it. There's a leaf pointing down here. I could prune it to there. There's a leaf pointing up. I could prune it to there. Or there's a leaf to the right and one to the left. I think I want this branch to be sort of cascading down. So I'm going to prune it to the leaf that's facing downwards. So here I go. To there. Now, if I decide later on, I may prune it back further, but I think that's a good point for now. So there's another vigorous branch here. It starts out, there's a leaf way back there, there's one here. There's also one pointing downwards here, so I'll prune just ahead of that, taking a lot off that branch. I have another vigorous one up here. I've got a leaf pointing downwards here, one to the back. This one's more to the front, so I'll prune it just ahead of there. And I think I notice a little scale insect on here. Yes. So I'll have to give the tree a spray for scale insects. Now, this leaf on this branch, I pruned to this leaf facing down. So at the base of that leaf, there's a dormant bud that will emerge, and the new branch will grow slightly facing downwards. I don't necessarily have to keep this leaf on here, but I should until a new branch forms there. I keep sap drawing to the tip of the branch. If I were to prune that leaf away, it might dry up this branch and then start getting new buds from these leaves back here. So it's always important on a ficus or any tree to have something so when the sap travels up the branch, it comes to a leaf, if possible. So there's another vigorous branch here. You can see it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves on it. So there's a good leaf to the left and one to the right, so I'll prune just in front of that, like that. There's another branch here that is, I wouldn't say it's really vigorous, but it has some vigor. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves on it. And the leaves are starting to get big, and I've got 2 leaves back here that I'll prune back to. Taking the tip off, just clean that cut up. There. There's a branch out the back here. Again, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves on it. So I'm going to prune this one back to here. Keeping the tree compact, there's a branch going vertical here. I'll prune it to an outward facing leaf back to here. And on these really miniature looking ficus, I want to prune them back more than I would on a ficus that I'm kind of developing or growing. I'm keeping this one very miniature, so I don't let a lot of vigor get into the tree. It's keeping the tree closer to the edge of survival and good health. If you let these grow too vigorous and healthy, well, you get these long branches with long internodes and large leaves. So I've got to keep this tree pruned back quite compact, and I've got to prune it more often than I would on any other ficus. Otherwise it just loses its shape. So it means that the tree won't be as vigorous and healthy as a ficus that I'm not really worried too much about the size of it. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Now I've got a branch growing up vertical here, and I've got 2 branches that are fanning out. So I'm going to remove that vertical one. I think that's a new branch. There's another vertical shoot back here going straight up. I'll remove that. There's an old leaf here. And when I mean old leaf, the bud at the base of this leaf has already developed into a branch. So you can see the leaf is here, and then the bud has turned into this branch right here. So I can remove that leaf. It's what I call an old leaf. I'm going to also prune the tip off this branch. There's a leaf going a good direction, and I don't want this branch to take off in vigor. So that's removed, and then I can remove the tip off of this one, which I will do. Keeping that branch, pruned back nice and tight, and keeping the vigor down on it. Now I'm looking for other vigorous branches. Here's one back here. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves on it. I'm just looking for a place to prune it back to. It's getting quite long and it's quite straight, so I think I've got to take it right back to a leaf way back here, like that. There's a branch coming up from the base here. It's kind of getting quite vertical, so I'm going to prune that back to there. There's a branch here that's growing with a lot of vigor. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 leaves on it. So that's plenty of vigor in that branch. So let me prune it back. I think to here is good. Taking the tip off that branch. There's another one coming out the front here. Not the most vigorous, but I can knock it back. I'm going to take the tip off here, like that. There's a vertical one here. There's a leaf here, one here. I'll take it back to here at least. And then, as I said, I might go in and look at the overall design later on and just decide if I need to remove branches or take some back even further. I've only seen 2 scale blisters on the tree, so the scale isn't out of hand. So I'm glad I caught it today so I can spray it. And I'm noticing the scale now because the plant room is warming up. It's, as the outside temperature warms up, so does the plant room. I'll prune this one back to here. This one back to here, just taking the tips off. So long one here. I can take this one back to here. There's one getting quite vertical here. I'm going to take it off here. There's also a shoot on the inside. You can see this is the tip of it up here. I don't think I want that branch at all. If you look at it from the front, I've got this one coming out the front. I don't need another one back there, I don't think. Because it kind of crosses all the trunks in the back. And there's actually 2 branches growing from one spot here. I don't think I want either of them. I don't believe. Let me look. I think that was either this one out front or this one was the intended apex for this thick trunk line at the front here. But I don't think I want to develop these ones as the apex because they cross the trunk behind. I do like the one coming out front as the apex, giving me more, you know, this trunk line is in the front and it kind of comes forward. So I'm going to remove these other 2. So here I go. They're gone. That's the one. And the other one is here. That cleans that up quite nicely in there. Now I've got one here at the back that just shoots up vertical. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 leaves on it. Quite a vigorous branch. I don't think I want that vertical one at all. No, I don't. So I'm going to take it right off. Or maybe I should just prune it back to one of these really tiny leaves. I'll do that. It may redirect itself out this direction, which would look okay. There's a branch in here that has no growth on it. I think that one has died off or it's dormant. It just wasn't getting light or something. So I have to decide, is that an important branch? No, it's not. So it's coming right off. There's a tip I can take off this branch. This apex here is getting a little tall. I'm going to take that back to there. Now out the back here, I've got some large leaves. There's a shoot. I've got my branch, my trunk leader is here. I don't know if you can see that, but is here. And then I've got a new shoot that's just gone vertical. I don't need that. I'm taking it out. So there's that one. You can see how it was gaining vigor. You have to watch for new growth on these trees. You know, I'm keeping everything pruned back so it tends to generate suckers and new growth coming from the trunks. The tree wants to grow and I'm trying to keep it in check, and trees usually don't like that. They want to grow. Especially if, you know, you're feeding the roots and giving them lots of water and fertilizer. They generally want to grow. Okay, so I think I've got an apex here. I can take this one back. It's kind of vigorous. I'm going to take it right back to here. And then this back one, I will take it back to here. Like that. So now I've kind of got a lot of it in check. I'm just still looking. There's a branch here, a little vigorous. I'll take the tip off. There's one here, I could take the tip off. Just cutting the vigor back in these branches so they don't take off and get really, large leaves and too much vigor them, so they thicken up too much and start to look out of scale. I'm doing a little leaf pruning now. Making sure each branch has light, that it's not being blocked out by branches that are above it and big leaves. There's a branch in here that's shooting straight up that I don't want. It's just a new shoot. It's cluttering things up in there. Now, I'm looking at it from the front. It looks a little more orderly, but not 100%. So I've got a branch here that's sticking straight out towards the front, and beside it, I have a branch that's coming out a more of an angle, so I don't think I need this branch here. It's kind of redundant, and it blocks your view of the root system. So that is coming off. I think too, here I've got a shoot coming out the front. It's on an angle, but I have a thicker branch up above that kind of is exactly the same angle. I don't need this lower one. It's nice to see a bit of trunk. So this thinner one's coming off like that. And you may find, you know, as you get ramification in these branches, you may need less branches because, you know, the branches are filling out, getting more foliage on them, and so you may want less branches. Otherwise, you know, it just becomes a big jumbled mess. So you got to keep it, you know, fairly clean and organized. I have another branch here that's coming straight out the front, and I'm trying to decide. I don't think I need that one. So that one's coming off. I think that's a new one too. Where I pruned a branch off here before, and you typically get little suckers that grow around wounds on ficus. I think I want this branch. I pruned it to a downward facing leaf, but there's an upward one here. These two branches are kind of similar, so I think I want to redirect this one a little more vertical because it is up near the apex. And I want it shorter so it's not the same length as the one behind it. So that's going to come off to there. Now above that, I have the apex here. I have it divides into two branches in the apex, and I have one coming out the front. That's a new one also. I'm going to remove that one. That one right there. I think I can remove this one. I've got this branch here I want to develop, and this one, if I develops, it'll grow straight above the other one, and I want to show a little bit of trunk on this back section. So that's going to come off like that. So you can see some of the trunk. So it's not just all branches. I've got kind of a curve, and it divides nicely. It flows nicely up here. I've got a branch on the inside of the curve here, and it also makes 1, 2, 3 branches growing from one spot. I don't need that one, so I'm going to remove that one also. Like that. That really opens up this area nicely. There's a vertical branch coming off of this more horizontal branch here. I'm going to remove that. Now I'm wondering here, I've got a branch here that's kind of on the inside of a curve too. It's not a bad branch. I'm just wondering if I should take this one right off. It is growing from a kind of the inside of a curve here. I think I'm going to take it off. It'll become a future problem. Now there's a branch here. There's two branches here that crisscross each other. I like the one that kind of goes down, droops a bit. I don't like the one behind it, so I'm going to remove the back one. Two branches coming from one spot. Keep your better one. Remove the duplicate. There's another one here that can go. Really cleaning up the structure of the tree. Every time you prune them, you can clean them up a little more. I'll prune the tip off here. There's a stub I can remove here. There's a vertical branch here I'm going to get rid of back here. It's just going straight up and down. Now I think at the back here I've got one leader that's quite tall. I would rather this be the highest point on the tree. So I'm going to, I could remove it totally. I think I will. I'm just going to keep the one part of the branch back here and remove that part. Back here I've got, you can't see it, I've got two branches growing from the same spot here. So again, I want to keep my best one, which is the thin one, and I'm going to get rid of this thick kind of coarser one. So that one's gone. There's also one growing out the back here. Well, there's two growing out the back here. One up here and one down here. So I'm going to get rid of one of them. It's going to be the one on the inside for sure. There. It's looking good. I hear a robin outside. This branch has got to be shortened more. Right back to here. This one shortened. And this one shortened. So kind of looking at the back now, I'm sorting out there's a thin branch that's growing up between these two trunks. I got to get rid of that. There we go. It was cluttering up that area. It's looking more tree-like now. I'm liking it. So I'm just looking for details. Checking each branch out from the front view. You know, looking for problem areas. Two branches going from the same spot. Too much clutter. Here's one going vertical here. I can remove a small shoot. Okay, I think I've got to remove, hold on. There's two opposite branches here at the back. I think the one on this side is getting too cluttered here, so I'm going to keep the one on the far side, so this one has to go. Just a little branch. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, I think I'm just having one final look at the structure. So stub I can remove here. Make sure I've got everything kind of in check. It's all looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that's good. So you can see it's a lot more tree-like looking now. You can see more of the trunk line and the branch structure, you know, flows a little better. It's definitely improved the structure after today. Here's a look at the foliage that's left on the tree from above. Looks quite nice. And here's what I took off today. So I'd say I took more off today than is left on the tree for sure. My next step is to inspect the root system on the tree. I don't expect a lot of new aerial roots to have formed. Generally, to form aerial roots, you need a lot of vigor in the top of the tree and really good growing conditions. Lots of light, humidity, and vigor in the tree. So this has been in the winter time, some of the darkest times of the year. So I don't expect a lot of growth of new roots down here. I think you'll see those develop over the summer. All right, I'm going in and removing some of the sphagnum moss, and I'll put it back. I'm just doing an inspection. We can see how the roots are healing from the root carving operation. And again, I don't expect a lot of healing because, you know, I haven't been letting the top of the plant grow with tons of vigor. So to get lots of root growth, you need lots of top growth on your tree also. So there's definitely some roots have grown here. You can see the sphagnum moss has some new roots growing in it. Not a whole lot, but you can see them here. There's a root growing out from the ficus. So it looks like the root carving has been doing quite well. I can see a new root tip emerging right there. Looks like the root carving is callousing over. Yeah, so far all is looking good. There is a new root here growing off to this side. I think it's going to look really good in the summer when I get more of these aerial roots forming, which I think they will form. I'd love to be able to show you the whole root system, but I don't think there's much point of me taking all the sphagnum moss away at this point in time. I'll just have to reapply it. There's a root growing here. There's one right here, a new aerial root. That's the same one right there. Yeah, there's some new roots growing in there, in that cavity I just removed. So, yeah, definitely some root growth. Let's just have a look here. There's a new root emerging right there. You can see the white tip of it. So that's good. So you can see there's some root activity. So I'm going to put all the sphagnum moss back now, covering up these roots for another period of time. Hopefully not 3 months this time, maybe shorter than that. We'll see. I'm sure I'll see all the new roots emerging out of the sphagnum moss when they're growing really well. When the tree's out here in the greenhouse for the summer, getting misted daily, it's really going to accelerate that root growth. Okay, so that's all covered back up, and I'll give that a watering just to make sure all the sphagnum moss is nice and moist, which it seems to be. But all right, here I go with some water. Make sure it gets a good watering while it's out in the greenhouse here. Okay. I'm really happy with my miniature Ficus microcarpa, a miniaturized version of those giant ficus bonsai you see in Vietnam in the big cement pots. I think it's getting better and better as I do each operation to it, the root work and the top work. Yeah, I'm happy with the progress of it. I hope it keeps developing well over this summer. That is all for this fabulous Ficus Friday. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.